Right now on Face the State, as Connecticut cleans up from a nor'easter, there's a storm at the state capitol as lawmakers debate smoking marijuana, bringing back tolls, and Governor Malloy's choice for Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court, Andrew McDonald. We will discuss with Senate President Len Fasano, a Republican, and State Senator Douglas McCrory, a Democrat. Plus, Republican candidate for governor Peter Lumaj is with us today. Our flashback, 50 years ago this week, Bobby Kennedy jumped into the race for president against an unpopular Lyndon Johnson. But how did Kennedy family friend and Connecticut Senator Tom Dodd react? His words from 1968. It's all right now on Face the State this Sunday morning, March 18th, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. It was a tumultuous week at the state capitol as they debated marijuana, tolls, and Governor Malloy's choice for Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court, Andrew McDonald. And with us today, for the Republicans, Senate President Len Fasano, and the Democrats, Senator Douglas McCrory. We thank you, Senators, for being with us today.
Thank you.
First, before we begin, we want to frame our conversation with a clip from last week's Face the State. I know you both saw it when Majority Leader Bob Duff said this when I asked why Republicans weren't supporting Andrew McDonald, Governor Malloy's choice for Chief Justice. Listen, why do you think that Republicans are opposing him?
I think many of them don't like the fact that he's gay.
So do you think they're anti-gay?
Yes.
Who?
I don't want to say for sure.
Gentlemen, as you know, this clip has been played throughout the week on radio stations and so forth. People have all sorts of opinions on it, and I'm going to let you weigh in first, Senator Fasano. You were very upset about it.
Well, I was. I think it's an embarrassment to Bob Duff that he would say such a statement. It's an unintelligent response to a very technical question, which is Justice McDonald being the Chief Justice, what does he believe the role of the Supreme Court is? And that's the only thing that's before, I think, both bodies and now in front of the Senate is where does Justice McDonald believe the Supreme Court limitations are, or does he feel there's no limitations? That's the question. And to have something out there that Senator Duff puts out to get a visceral response and not address the real technical issue is demeaning. It's baseless. But I understand that, you know, he wants to play politics and not talk about the issues.
Your party's in a rock and a hard place right now because if you vote against McDonald, people are going to say, yes, they are anti-gay, even if you say they're not.
Oh, I don't think we're in a rock and a hard place at all. I think if we have put out there questions that we have had, the hearing was very educational and thoughtful and talked about the issues, the death penalty case, the LaPointe case, a number of cases regarding his decisions. And that's what you'll hear, however they decide, that's what you'll hear at the Senate. But to argue that if you vote against Andrew McDonald, anti-gay is absurd, ridiculous, and there's no nexus to it. The argument is whether or not the role of the Chief Justice is a role that we think Justice McDonald can fulfill.
Senator McCrory, do you agree with your Majority Leader, Bob Duff, that Republicans are anti-gay?
Well, I will never make blanket statements to cover a whole group of anyone, whether it's a whole group of women, African Americans, Latinos. Everyone has their own personal opinions. I don't think, me personally, I don't make decisions based on who someone sleeps with. You make decisions based on someone's interpretation of the law. You make decisions on someone's character, their background, how they treat others. So I can't say for sure if all Republicans make a decision based on his sexuality. I can't make that decision. I won't do that.
Do you think some are?
I'm not sure because, you know, I haven't talked to all of them. They have their reasons why they're not supporting him. The members of the Democratic Party have their reasons why they are supporting him. If his sexuality comes into play, I think it's wrong to do that. If someone is doing that, if they're doing that, I think that's inappropriate. Again, you make a decision on a person, how they can handle the position that they're going for.
And I want to point out that I did invite Justice McDonald to come on the program, and he declined our invitation.
I just wanted to add that, you know, to say that the 4 or 5 Democrats in the House who voted against Justice McDonald is the argument that they're anti-gay, and the answer is no, they're not. They had their own reasons. Representative Morris, got up there and had his reasons, and Representative Butler stated his reasons on the record. Had nothing to do with his sexuality orientation, had everything to do with his opinions. And to suggest, if Republicans vote no, is to suggest that that's why they voted no. You can't say, well, they voted no for legitimate reasons, but Republicans are unable to do that. It's an absurd argument. The issue is purely, as Senator McCrory said, it is about the decisions. It is about the person being the leader of the team.
Senator, why didn't Republicans speak out in opposition to him when he was first nominated to be on the high court?
Sure, because when Justice McDonald, he was a senator, and then he was the lawyer for the governor, and the issues that are being talked about is his track records for the last 5 years when he was on the Supreme Court. So I spoke very highly of then Attorney McDonald to be on the Supreme Court. But now you have 5 years of decision writing, you have 5 years of decisions he's made on different cases, that you're able to look at a record now that he's in there and say, I have before me, not hypothetical, actual transcripts of what he wrote. And I have read every decision Justice McDonald has ever written on the court, every one of them. So, you have a track record, and that's your obligation, is to look at that.
We also invited your fellow Democrat, Gail Slosberg, to come on the program, and we did not hear back. She had made some claims in an affidavit that Andrew McDonald yelled at her, berated her in a tirade. Do you, support her? Do you agree with her story? Do you believe it?
I mean, I wasn't there. If she filled out an affidavit and made those claims, it could be true. To what extent was it? It could have been back and forth. Sometimes when we're at the Capitol and we're heated about situations and issues, our voices do rise, and they can rise on both sides of the issue. So again, it could have happened, it could not. But I don't think that's the reason why you don't support someone. You have to look at that person's track record. He's qualified, he's been there, he had the support to go on the Supreme Court. I don't see what more would change. Unless you're going back and he's did something within his last 4 or 5 years that you're not comfortable with and you don't think he should lead, then you don't support him. But clearly the young man is qualified, he has done his time, and he should get the support that he needs.
Senator Fasano, if the vote was held today, how would it go?
I don't know.
Are all Republicans opposed to him?
I don't know. We have not taken a caucus position. I have the only thing I have told my caucus members is no matter how you vote, make sure you know his record, make sure you read the cases that have been brought up at judiciary hearings, make sure you know the issues that were brought up, get comfortable one side or the other, and when it comes up, we'll talk before the hearing.
Are you going to vote for him?
At this time, I'm leaning no, and I met with Senator McDonald for 3.5 hours last Thursday and went over the cases and the concerns I have. He alleviated some fears, heightened others, but I'm leaning towards a no.
Are Democrats united in supporting him?
I'm supporting him, absolutely, and I believe that our caucus is supporting him, yes.
Let's shift to marijuana. I know it's one of the big issues that perhaps the state should legalize it, make some money off it. Others say, well, it would lead to other drugs or maybe the creation of more government jobs to monitor marijuana. How do you feel about this, Senator McCrory?
Well, it's an issue that's been brought before us for the last couple of years because of what's going on in Colorado and other states. I think it's something we have to explore. I think it's something we shouldn't make just because we're in a financial crisis. But I'm going to change the conversation a little bit around marijuana. Unfortunately, for years in communities like mine, people have been getting arrested and going to jail for a number of years for selling marijuana. And it has destroyed communities, it's destroyed families, and I find it quite ironic and hypocritical that now the state of Connecticut wants to do the same thing, sell this drug, and make money off it so others can make millions where other communities have suffered. So I'm gonna have to take a real deep dive in this conversation around marijuana and see how it's gonna play out, because I'm really concerned about the hypocrisy that I'm seeing in state governments all over this country where people have been lost their lives. Families have been destroyed, communities destroyed, and now all of a sudden we want to sell this same product and make millions.
Senator Fasano.
I got to tell you, I just listened to this argument for the first time, and it's a very interesting and novel way to look at it, and I respect Senator McCrory, and now I'm going to think about it in those terms. But I will say this, and it's a very interesting outlook on that, but I will say this, the question is whether or not, why are we doing this? Are we doing Are we legalizing recreational marijuana because we're broke, or we think it's a good public policy? I'm going to suggest to you that the conversations at the Capitol is because we're broke. Does that make a good public policy? I think not. We have an opioid epidemic out there. Whether marijuana leads to hard drugs or not, people could debate. People on hard drugs have always started with marijuana, but not everybody who uses marijuana ends up with hard drugs. And also, when they talk about money, they never talk about the net to the state of Connecticut. Social costs go up, drunk driving goes up, social services are more pulled upon. Those are the studies that are coming out of Colorado.
Let's talk a little bit about the casino issue. I know that there's been some talk maybe they should open it up, allow Bridgeport to bid, to MGM to get involved. Is East Windsor the best choice for a casino?
Look, I'm against expanding casino operation, period. I was not necessarily in favor with that bill. Listening to my colleagues in the eastern part of Connecticut who said it's a jobs bill, therefore I went with Windsor for it to happen because they said that was the best place to preserve jobs, stopping some of that market from going to Massachusetts. Not my favorite yes vote, but I understood the rationale, and that's why I voted yes.
Senator McCrory?
I'm willing to open up the conversation and see how the state of Connecticut can get the best deal for its citizens. It is a jobs bill. That's what they're saying downstate. We know that what was done in East Windsor is to prevent our people from going to Massachusetts. They're using those casinos. I'm willing to have a conversation about it. We have to realize that we do have billions of dollars invested in the people that have been working these casinos for the last years, our tribe. So we have to be concerned and careful about how we make our choices moving forward.
Douglas McCrory, Len Fasano, senators both, thank you so much for being on the program. We'll see you again around the Capitol.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to talk with Peter Lumage, a candidate for governor, and welcome your comments. You can tweet me right now. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. All right.